The outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic no doubt affected businesses globally, and most business functions within organizations experienced some form of disruption due to the challenges of the pandemic. Despite the full reopening of economies and resumption of business activities across all sectors, now some businesses are still struggling to survive due to the damping impact of the pandemic on businesses and, of course, operations. However, for the marketing and communications industry, a lot more has to be done for sustainability, especially with the uncertainty the coronavirus pandemic has thrust on the world. Given the peculiar challenges the pandemic has brought on the industry, brands have reinvented their marketing and communication strategies through the massive deployment of technology in order to provide efficient service delivery and remain in business. Well, to discuss this and, of course, more concerning the branding and marketing communications industry, I have joining me, he's live in the studio, Executive Director, Media Investment and Sponsorship, OMG Weka, or Omnicon Media Group in full, and that's West and Central Africa. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Yinka Adebayo.
Thank you so much, Elu. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Like my intro says, brands have been through a lot this time, ups and downs. Now tell us, how are they coping with these challenges in the country? And you know, there's another restriction again yesterday by the PTF. So it goes on and on.
Sure. Well, I think the pandemic was the COVID-19 period was actually a major shocker to everybody. It's a global crisis.
True.
And nobody prepared for it. So there was no manual set aside to say this is how to navigate it.
True.
So many people struggle. And for me, I think what happened was a situation where it depends on how you're able to see the cup. Is it that you see it as half full or as half empty? And how you see it determines how you travel. For some people saw it as half empty and they traveled down the line, but some people saw it as half full and they took advantage of the pandemic. And to the glory of God, some of them actually have exciting stories to show for it now, because really, crisis will always remain the best platform for a good manager to excel. It was a crisis situation, some people actually cashing on it and took advantage. And we have so much examples around. So
maybe like a springboard. People use it to like,
because of course everybody had to quickly go to the drawing board to reinvent, to re-strategize. And while some people came back with a more, we saw brand who even launched during the pandemic period.
Yes.
We saw brand who even had to, one, they succeeded in creating the market, and they even went to having created the market, they did not cash in on it. They equally took the pain to say, hey, we are taking a price splash. And the reason for that is strategic. What they have done smartly is to ensure that they are appealing to their target consumer at their pain points. Because the 1 naira you give me when I'm broke is more valuable and important to me than the 1 million you give me when I'm rich. So brands are smart enough to say, hey, and crisis period will always be a period where you don't take your leg off the pedal as a brand. You need to keep it in there because there's a minimum threshold you must always maintain so that your top of mind awareness keeps a minimum level. So I think it was a crisis period, but some were able to manage it well, but some struggle. And
now it forced people to like more of indoor now than outdoor. I'm now looking how this has impacted the marketing communications industry in its totality.
Yes, especially because of the people who are between, of course, the need for us to
social
distancing, the need for safety measures and all that. Yes. And even now to the extent that you are not sure who has it, so people are now being very careful. So you only go out when it's only necessary and compulsory. But even in the midst of that offers a good opportunity. For me, I keep on telling people that, look, if there's any country that has benefited from COVID, I think Nigeria happens to be one of them. And I'll tell you why. Before now, we've always had technology with us. We've always had the mobile phone. But are we using it optimally? Now, meetings, interviews are being done in the comfort of your home. But the technology has been there for us. If not for COVID, we would have been smart enough to use that. So that has forced us to, and clearly it shows us how wasteful we have been. There are cases where I'm having meetings right now. I don't need, oftentimes I'm rushing to the office in the morning to say I want to meet the 8 o'clock meeting, but now I don't need to rush. I can take my time and have meeting with my people in the comfort of my own using technology. And that is a major lesson for us. Now people staying at home, that offers opportunity. Like I said earlier, it depends on how you see the cup. Is it half full or half empty? If people are seated at home, what are they doing at home? They're not just sleeping. They are waiting to be informed. They are waiting to be educated. They are waiting to be entertained. Where are the contents? Are brands leveraging to bring in the content on board to get them engaged and take advantage of it? Look at the pandemic shows us. Many people were seated at home waiting for content to watch. When we failed, the terrestrial station and even some stations failed to provide them the content they were looking for. All of them moved over to Netflix. Because the average Nigerian person, they are too vibrant, they are too energetic, they are too dynamic to be held down. If you don't give me what I want, I move elsewhere.
Somewhere else.
So that's the challenge.
In the light of this reality, let's now look at the importance of branded content and sponsorship. How would you examine it in this present context?
Yeah, well, for me, there's no better time. We've always said it. I was opportune to be at the Eddies Award, and I make a presentation of I won one of the awards. And I stated there that, look, we oftentimes in this market, we pay lip service to sing. People are quick to say content is king, content is king. If content is king, how many have you crowned? That's the honest truth. Are we really? Because really, you have a station where content, and we have so many talented, well-professional people here in this country who are really awash with content. But then, we need to bear in mind that creativity does not thrive on empty stomach. Are we giving them the right financial support to be able to come out with the quality of content that we desire? Look at what happened during the pandemic. People are locked down. Many of the stations could not go to location to go and produce new content. So what do we have? Right, so where you are repeating content we are being repeated and all of that. And why you repeat content? The others are saying, look, I've seen this, so why are you giving it to me? Wow, everybody shifted focus to Netflix. So that shows you that the average Nigerian, when they see value, they will go ultra mind to get what they want. So that offers us opportunity to see branded content. Before now, in the 80s, we used to have some organization put money behind, because I used to know then that 8 to 9 o'clock belt used to be sponsored by one of the brands, and everybody registered because you saw good content, and even the producer at all would be well energized because we've seen a client that put money on the table to say, hey, go then we can have a situation where people focus on what the area of specialization is. What we have now is everybody doing everything but achieving little or nothing. That's it. So we need to focus. And that's one opportunity that the DSO, digital switchover, is going to offer to us.
Yeah, we'll talk on that. I know you're supposed to say something about that, because how important is this event sponsorship, to brands? And really, are we where we're supposed to be? Are we doing as much as we're supposed to do when it comes to event sponsorship in this part of the world?
Well, I dare say that we are trying, but we are not where we ought to be. We are not where we ought to be because when you look at the average Nigerian consumer, these guys are so restless, these guys are so energetic, they are so vibrant. They are people who, hey, just give them what they want, how they want it, where they want it, and when they want it, and you have them gravitating towards it. In terms of event sponsorship, we are not yet there, but the good news is that the train has left the station. By now, we have so many credible content that have been struggling to survive over the years. And year in, year out, they keep on struggling for sponsorship. By now, we should have brands who can say, guys, I think I like what you're doing. Let's put things together. Let's make it big. Let's make it more robust. And let's travel a long haul for the next 5 years. By doing that, like I said earlier, creativity does not thrive on empty stomach.
Yes.
If somebody who is creative enough to have brought in the idea, now see somebody who says the next 5 years you don't need to go out and look for sponsorship, I'm going to support you, let's make this big. That guy can go back to the drawing board to re-strategize and working with the brand, because nobody can know your brand better than you anyway. Working together, you can actually take it to the limit. And we've seen it clearly with a couple of things that we've done. Look at almost all of the events. Guys are always there, whether you call it entertainment, whether it's the music, whether it's the comedy show, whether even it's the Eddies Award. Look at the turnout. I was surprised at the recent Eddies Award. People were actually watching because it was streamed online. People were actually calling. In fact, the picture of my presentation of the award was sent to me by my son in Canada.
Wow.
And I was shocked to say, hey, you are watching? Say, yes, I'm watching, because that shows you the capability of this market. And you can see the turnout of people. People are, look at what you are putting together. You can see the response. I know the number of people have been begging you guys for invite drive because people are currently, the tension is so high. There's the kind of like mental torture for most people. So they are looking for where to relieve, to cool off, to relieve this tension, to be able to loosen up. Are we ready for them?
So this digital switchover which you mentioned, before we move to other very important things we need to talk about, how do you see it impacting the industry in its totality?
Well, I think it's going to be a whole lot of professionalism. Let's hope and pray that we're able to execute it faithfully as viable as the plan is. It's going to be a whole lot of sanity, because currently right now we have a situation where producers of content and equally the ones looking for how to market it, how to sell it. Their role is to produce content. The platform producers have provided the platform, and content is going to lead the way because people have area of talents to choose from. So your content will determine the level of viewership you get. So meaning that when we say content is king, now is really going to be a lot more important, because really, and getting the right content is pretty much it, because you have the content that can run for 3, 4, 5 successfully for over about 3 or 4 quarters, you can see clearly that people are watching, and you have measurements that goes in, because federal government is equally investing in audience measurement, and that can show you clearly who is delivering what value. And even the advertisers will be encouraged to bring in money, because you know that whatever you are investing in, you're actually getting the right value for it. So let's wait as inventor of food, but I see a situation where some level of sanity is going to come into the broadcast industry, and we are going to see a high level of specialization. And the broadcast industry is so wide, you can actually focus on your own area of specialization and make the maximum benefit out of it in terms of profit and gains without really having to do. But currently right now, we do so many and have little to show for it. But focus, be a content provider, focus on your content, just go on, do research, know what the audience wants, be able to package your content in a way that appeals to them, and hold them captive for a long period of time. And naturally, the brand will ultimately come towards you. So we're going to get there.
Very optimistic statements there. I think I agree with you. That's really the way to go. Now, back to our concert, Max FM concert. We'll still talk about the industry before we wrap up, but it's in a few days. What's your assessment? Let's look at the timing and, of course, relevance of this concert coming up at this time.
Well, I think there's no better time to do it than now. If I would say there's no better time to do it than yesterday. But it's a good thing that is coming up now, and it's a good thing that is coming on Max FM. And I think for you guys, it's even a double-edged advantage for you, because one, during the NSAS protest, you guys went through a lot. And I think it's equally an appreciation of the fact that, look, the audience have taken you to a particular level. It's an opportunity to celebrate them. It's an opportunity to reward them. It's an opportunity to have them interact and engage with the brand. But more importantly, too, is the fact that it's bringing to the table an opportunity to really celebrate the audience. And I think that's one thing that we need to bring to the table. Whether as a brand, whether as a TV station, all of that, we've taken the consumers, the audience for granted for so long. I think it's only in this market where you have people call your station and you'll be the one begging them to stop. It's part of that they're using their money. So such people need to be recognized. Such people need to be celebrated. Such people need to be given that sense of responsibility and appreciation. And I think this Max FM concert offers you guys the opportunity to do that. And I think the timing is really now, because really people are, like I said earlier, people are under so much stress, so much tension, insecurity everywhere, and people are looking for a way to get their sanity back. We need to have opportunity to relieve. So yeah, we're going to be streaming on live. People are going to be opportunity to watch, but I'm sure nothing compared to people coming on ground. But then even the federal government lockdown is there, so there's the need for moderation, but observing the necessary safety precautionary measures and all of that, I think we are headed in the right direction. And
as usual, your agency, always leading, is also leading again now when you talk about brand support for Max FM live concert. Now let's look at audience and guests. What should they expect from your brand at the concert?
Well, I dare say that, you see, in the marketing communication world, nobody is going to keep quiet for you to be heard.
Wow.
So your best approach is to see how you continually raise your voice, raise the game, and raise the bar. If nobody is chasing you, always try and chase somebody. And I think for us, when the idea of the concert came to the table, we felt, look, it's coming. It was very handy for some of our brand, and it's a deliberate item, not anything by accident. It was deliberate, plan, and sustain, because we noticed the focus. Take, for instance, one of the headline sponsors, that is the Fearless Energy Drink, the Fearless brand. And for you to even survive the NSAS and even continue to ramp up your rating, I think you guys have been fearless, so you deserve to be identified with you. Then last year, bring the beauty in you, so that inform order. The munch is non-stop fun. You're going to be bringing fun to the table. And when you talk of the Guinness brand, wow, from Malta Guinness to Smirnoff Ice to the Guinness Smooth, all with species, they are party people, and it's all about party, it's all about fun. Let's bring some level of sanity into the game. Let's bring some loosening up atmosphere. Let people refresh. Let people get their mental stability back. And that's the only essence of our sponsorship. And for the brands coming to the table, you can be rest assured, for most of our brands, they are not just going to be, they don't lay back, because for us in marketing communication, a desired person cannot manage an active brand. So those brands are coming in active. There are going to be a lot of giveaways. And the guests who are coming on board are going to be coming in to win some giveaways courtesy of the brand, just to kind of show appreciation to them for their patronage, just as you station you are saying you are appreciating them too for their listenership and viewership. We are going to be giving some giveaways to them, both at the show. Then even those who are going to be watching online too, they have the opportunity of winning some goodie bags and free product and giveaways courtesy of the brand. It's all like to say, hey, let's see how we make it happen. Let's identify with people. Let's celebrate them. They've gone through a whole lot. They deserve to be celebrated.
Yes, going through a whole lot. Now moving on in 2021. It seems one way or the other is getting better here, but we see what's happening in the likes of India, the likes of Brazil. That's talking about COVID. It's not looking too good. What are you looking at the industry? Let's next project? What more are you expecting, and what do you have to also say to other guys out there that need to also, get it right with regards to marketing and brand communications?
Well, I think one of the things I want to say is the fact that if we are hoping and waiting that a day will come when the federal government will wake up and announce to all of us, that COVID is over, get back to life, it will never happen. What does that bring to the table? It means we need to learn to live with it. So you get, so we need to learn to live, and the earlier we do that, the better, even for brands. Meaning we need to put on our thing, we need to re-strategize. The Nigeria audience are waiting. Is the market waiting to be tapped? But are we doing enough? There's so much potential in this market. So much potential. I dare say, if a radio station opens up today and say, look, it will have listenership.
Yes.
But how far you are able to take them will depend on what you are feeding to them. The media is a monster. It feeds only on content. Are we having the right content? We want to have the right content, but the other leg to that content is engagement. Are you engaging them? So for me, I think it's important that brands to begin to evolve ways to engage and interact with the audience, because the more you engage to them, the more you endear your brands to them, and you get them to a level where there's nothing as good as asking people a question, why do you buy my brand? And they tell you, I don't just understand, I just love the brand. And that level is the utopian level where you need to get to, and then you can say clearly that you've actually worked.
Any industry challenges, maybe just on a lighter note, any challenges that also need to be looked at? Because it's not...
Yeah, a lot of challenges, but I think the major one for us is actually the issue of data. We do a whole lot in this country that is being grossly underreported. And I think the issue of data, because oftentimes when we begin to capture what we do in the marketing communication space and report it adequately to the global world, you'll see that Nigeria is not a market to toy with. We are too vibrant, we are too energetic, we are too active. People to be taking ground. So we need to ramp up that issue of data that will speak volume to what we do and how we do them here.
Well, when you're talking to a media investment specialist, sponsorship specialist, you know what it means. I've been talking to the executive director, media investment and sponsorship, OMG worker, Mr. Yinka Adebayo. Interesting conversation there, putting me through all that is playing around in that sector. Thank you so much for your time, and as usual, we appreciate you for your cooperation and all that you've done for the TVC Communications brand in its entirety, and we'll continue to also support that brand.
Thank you so very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, there. So we'll see at the Max event.
Oh, sure.
I should be there.
Sure.